Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber One News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. 21st day of October. It's a Wednesday, and Spencer, good morning to you, bud. How you doing?
Marty, we got to get back in the DeLorean, head to the future. Oh, sorry. It's just Back to the Future Day. I'm a little excited.
What do you mean great. It's Back to the Future Day?
This is the day that they went back to the future. October 21st of 2015. 5 years ago was the future in Back to the Future. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, my gosh. That's a little depressing to start us off this morning, actually, as you think they had flying cars, they had holographic jaws, they had that cool hat that was kind of multicolored, the Nike shoes that auto fit. And what do we have now?
A pandemic. Oh, boy. There comes one
So you're telling me that in Back to the Future 2,
yep, when
Marty and Jennifer and Doc go to the future,
yeah,
they only went to 2015?
Yeah. Well, you got to remember this movie was in 1985. That was the present for Back to the Future then. The timeline present was 1985.
I
then
love those movies.
They went back to 1955 and then ahead to 2015.
1885.
Weird, huh? Yeah.
Was the third one.
I love that. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's great. That's fun. Port a call on the air today, so Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith, and we'll check in with what's going on with them. They've had some budget conversations as we're rolling into 2021. Also, the weather, how's the weather looking for the day today?
It's going to be nice. Mild temperatures and shouldn't have any rain today. Next chance of showers coming on Friday.
Mason County Public Health notified of 2 additional Mason County residents testing positive for COVID-19. Total now 538. Mason County received also the unfortunate news of an additional death related to COVID-19. Condolences from the county, from us, from everybody, go to out the family during this sad time. That brings the total to 9 deaths so far. There are no cases of hospitalizations currently in or out of Mason County, and the total active number of cases is 47.
Well, we're now less than 2 weeks away from the general election. Hard to believe. On our website and social media, we've posted a series of videos featuring the Mason County Auditor's Office and Elections Department, including Mason County Auditor Patty McGuire and Election Superintendent Fina Ormond. One video covers the path from after you've dropped your ballot into a ballot box or mailbox through the collection and scanning. Another talks about election security and the measures taken to protect your vote. And the final video is an in-depth conversation about election misconceptions. We will be airing full coverage of the election here on the radio starting at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, November 3rd. If you have not returned your ballot, everyone is encouraged to get that ballot back as quickly as possible. We, in partnership with ABC News Radio, by the way, will provide live anchored coverage of the presidential debate tomorrow. That's the third presidential debate and final one at Belmont University, Nashville, Tennessee. The start time 6 p.m. We'll have kind of a pregame show starting at 5 with a preview of the upcoming event and debate analysis afterwards.
Lots of folks already have returned their ballot. We're seeing huge numbers across the country. Washington voters getting their ballots in early ahead of the election. Numbers released yesterday by the Secretary of State's office show 17.6% of the state's more than 4.8 million voters have already cast their votes. In 2016, at this same time, it was just 6.2%. So almost triple there. Ballots in some areas, including Thurston County, were sent out 2 weeks ago, and ballots in the rest of the state sent out last week. Republican Secretary of State Kim Wyman said that counties should prepare for potential turnout up to 90%.
The city of Shelton outperformed initial estimates in ultimately save a little over $3 million with successful completion of the bond refunding process. The bond sale took place on October 14th and exceeded the city's savings estimates. Total savings over the life of the bonds is about $3 million. The final maturity of the longer-term bonds moved from 2052 to 2047. As part of the bond refunding, the city went through a bond rating process and received an A+ with a stable outlook credit rating from Standard & Poor's, S&P. S&P considered Shelton's economy, debt structure, financial condition, demographic factors, and the municipality's management practices when determining the rating.
Well, coming up again today on the show, Port of Call with Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith, we'll look at ways that you need to make sure that your load is secure as you're taking stuff perhaps to the dumps or anything like that as we move into the fall. Fast Car comes out of Bellingham, and there's still some more opportunities for shell fishing, some razor clam shell fishing. We'll tell you about that as well. It's all coming up here on Daybreak this morning. Good morning to you.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Again, good morning to you here Wednesday, the 21st day of October. We have the final debate on the air tomorrow. And then on November 3rd, Election Day, we'll have a wall-to-wall coverage starting about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then it'll probably run to about midnight, maybe even further. Morning, Spencer. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And you?
Good. So the weather, of course, is when whipping around. We had some huge winds and branches come down, trees come down, things like that. So one thing about that is that folks will start to gather those and maybe take them somewhere where they dump them off. But then also as people are getting ready to make trips to the dumps or anything like that, you got to remember to secure your load. I remember we went to the dumps one time when we were up in Bellingham, and we had thought we had secured our load properly, and we had like it was a fish. It was this really ugly fish that was on a wall mount. It was almost like Billy the Bass, only it wasn't electronic. It was just, it was ugly.
Who caught this fish?
We were driving. I don't know. Somebody caught it. You know, in college you don't ask those stories. So we're driving down the road, and sure enough, I look back and this thing flies out of the back.
Oh,
and
no.
It gets stuck under the car behind us. So it hits the ground, and then the other car comes and it goes underneath it and kind of sticks. And it was a Beamer. So of course we were worried that we were going to get sued. But that incident turned out okay. It didn't turn out to be a huge issue, but this can be a huge issue. Unsecured loads lead to dangerous road conditions and litter as well. If law enforcement observes your vehicle with an unsecured load, the fine could be up to $228. If it falls out of the vehicle and injures someone, it could be $5,000 plus jail time. Now, the AAA Foundation has some stats for us.
Yeah, they found that road debris contributes to more than 50,000 traffic collisions, 9,000 injuries, and 125 fatalities every single year in the U.S., and it's preventable, you know. All of this can be prevented if everyone takes the time to properly secure all their loads before heading out on the road. It only takes a few minutes, some basic supplies, tarp it, tie it, strap it. Those are a few of the ways to keep our roadways safe and looking beautiful, too.
A Washington State car company says it's set a world record after its newest vehicle reached an average speed of 316 miles an hour along a highway in Nevada. Bellingham Herald reported Monday that Guinness said Richland-based SSC North American's Tatura model is the fastest production car. The milestone, set on October 10th, passes the paltry 278 miles an hour, reached by a Swedish car company back 3 years ago. If you want one, looks like there's only going to be about a dozen made, and the price tag per car is $1.9 million.
And you can order them on iFiber1newsradio.com. I'm just kidding. Your voice and vote matter. Ballots should be in your mailbox soon if they're not already. We got ours several days ago. After you voted, return your ballot. Then write us an On Your Mind opinion piece and let everyone know how they should vote. Check iFiber1newsradio.com and click on Your Mind.
Another day tonight, 11:12 p.m., Long Beach, Twin Harbors, Copalis for some razor clam digging. But again, with the COVID-19 happening, health agencies asking people to stay home if you're sick. If you do go, take your masks and practice social distancing. pack out whatever you brought in, have some hand sanitizer or other protective equipment. Try to bring your cards, no cash if possible, to reduce contact, and then follow your local ordinances and guidelines.
The City of Shelton will host that virtual community open house for Shelton residents to meet the 3 final candidates for Shelton's next police chief. That is today, October 21st, from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. The community open house will be hosted via Zoom. Each of the 3 candidates will be available for 30 minutes each to answer questions from participants. The candidate schedule is as follows. From the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, Ronald Schaub from 4 to 4:30, 4:30 to 5. Ton Fan from the Davis, California Police Department, 5 to 5:30 p.m. Carol Beeson from the San Diego Police Department. And more information can be found online at sheltonwa.gov/policechief.
Seahawks maintain their top spot on the latest AP Pro 32 poll. Next 4 spots went to teams in the AFC. Seahawks play the Cards this weekend. Pregame at 11, kick at 1. Presented by Shelton Health and Rehab, Riviera's Shellfish, South Sound Appliance, Dogtown Grooming, Neil's Pharmacy, and the Shelton Athletic Club. More Daybreak Show coming up this morning. It's Wednesday. Good morning to you.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show. Time for us to find out what's doing at the Port of Shelton with Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith. How you doing?
Good,
Great.
good.
It is coming up on November, so budget time. You guys went through all that last week.
Yeah, we passed our budget.
How's it look?
Submitted. Well, it looks good.
Yeah.
We've got one of the major capital project we have going is a 40,000 square foot building is in the budget this year,
Nice.
which we'll be building out behind the Sims property. It's where we're looking at putting one in.
And is that going to be a single 40,000, or are you going to try to break it up a little bit?
All the above. Mm-hmm. It can be. It depends on what the customer wants.
Okay.
The tenant that wants it. We have people that would take it as 5,000 square foot buildings, and it's designed such that you can break it up that way.
Yeah.
And we also have one that may take the whole 40,000 square feet. So.
You guys over the years have found yourself in those situations where you're full up, and that's a great position to be in, especially as we're looking into 2021 after this year.
Right.
It could have been a noticeably different landscape.
For sure.
But things seem to be well over the last couple months.
They do, and I think the biggest thing for us is that some of these projects have been on the budget and they were pushed forward just based on the economy and everything happening. But we're excited, and I think we're just kind of looking towards the future. And we have a couple tenants that are. Actually, we have one tenant that is leaving Port Property, but they've been on a 1-year lease for several years, and so could be based on various things, but that in itself just lends to all those tenants that are kind of waiting for expansion possibilities. So we're not worried about that. We of course want our businesses to thrive, and we want them to do well, and it seems most are. They're weathering the storm pretty well, so that's a good thing.
So you folks at the Port of Shelton, I think this is going to be probably my first budget conversation of the quarter. Mm-hmm. How much did this last couple of months play into this? Not necessarily on like reduce revenues or things like that, but thinking ahead to next year and making sure we may hopefully have some reserves or what to happen if COVID comes back.
We've got a reserve.
Okay.
What, $3 million in reserve?
Yeah, we've got 5 actually.
Or 5. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
That's
5.
great.
And it's there just for that reason, to be a buffer if something happens. When I started, I think we had 950,000 or something. I was less than $1 million in reserve, and so we've built it up considerably, and I'm really proud of that. And it's a rainy day. We can use that. We can do some construction without having to do humongous bonds and loans and that sort of thing. So.
And then pass that too along to your other tenants there.
It gets passed on to the tenants.
Well, and that's kind of the flip side too. The good news is having that fund available. We do have bonds that are from 2003, 2005. We have 3 bond series. We have some drinking water state revolving fund loans as well. and curb projects, as we've talked about more recently. So we just paid off an old curb project.
From the
So
90s,
that's
yeah.
done, and then those 2003 and 2005, they keep, we're slowly paying those out, so I mean, they're due to expire here in the next, 5 years-ish, and so we're paying those down, we're building our reserves. Now, keeping in mind that as we go forward and build a 40,000, we'll search for money, we'll search for low income, we'll search,
Right,
low
sure.
financing funds, but we'll also search for free money, but you aren't always that lucky, and that's why we have that money to put towards a project and then just get that money back for the next project. So,
If I'm not mistaken, after the federal tax law of 17 or 18, whichever one that was,
1800 or
it may have been the last time. I don't even remember now. It's been such a long year. But there was, and I think the Port of Shelton property was in one of these economic impact zones.
the
from that-
opportunities.
Yeah.
Opportunity
Yeah.
zones, that's
Part of
right.
it, yeah.
Correct.
Have you
Yep.
been able to utilize that at all, or is it still kind of hard to understand?
I'll tell you, people are really excited about it. And Sanderson Field, our airport property, is fully encompassed in the Opportunity Zone. Johns Prairie is not. Real close to Johns Prairie, right across the street, right across Johns Prairie is. So people get real excited. We have companies that have looked to us just for that reason. We have companies still looking to expand for that reason. But I think there's so much that's unknown. And a lot of the articles that have come out about the program have said, oh, it's, it isn't what it was supposed to be.
Okay.
And the designations are kind of, so I think there's some workout stuff that needs to happen federally. And so far they haven't touched the program.
Yeah.
And so whether they do that or not, but we are in the zone, and I think
Yeah.
it's something that we can, market and get people, on port property for that reason. It just, when it's, only airport property, we have to think about what meshes with the airport.
Sure,
It doesn't
sure.
have to be airport related at this point on some of our portions of property, but it does have to, fit in with an airport. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, when that first came out, I think we probably had some initial conversations and then talked with the EDC and the county commissioners, and everybody agrees that it's a good idea if we could just figure it
figure
out.
out how to use it.
Yeah, just figure out how to use it. Very
I
cool.
have reached out to Representative Kilmer's office is pretty on this, and they have kind of introduced me by way of email because of this year with someone out of Tacoma who has done presentations on it and seems to be kind of the guru of the program. And so we've got more knowledge than we have had, and they're pretty insistent, Kilmer's office that is, on figuring out, how we work this, how we, entice people to get in these programs. So
Good. Well, maybe down the road then that'll pick
Yeah.
up for sure. Port of Shelton here on the air today. Dick Taylor and Wendy Smith finding out what's doing at Port of Shelton. You can always find out more too on the website, portofshelton.com. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
iFiber One News Radio, 1030 KMAS and FM 1033 presents Daybreak.
Once again, good morning to you. Daybreak show rolls on here this Wednesday, the 21st. Good morning, Spencer.
Hey, good morning to you.
Interesting article coming up on getting a little bit of a nature fix, and it could help to tie in with our winters coming up. But first, I saw this on the Mason County Sheriff's Facebook page, and so I thought I'd just mention it. They say, we cannot stress this enough. Please do not post images from accidents on social media, as this can cause numerous problems for family members that are not yet notified first of injuries and or a fatality. Please help us help them, and do not post major accident images on social media. Isn't that something that we have to say that?
I'm glad they did that. There was a Twitter feed story that I saw from a California television station of all things, and they played someone's cell phone video of a burning car wreck. The car was totally engulfed in flames. They were trying to show the altruism of the people trying to get the people out of the car, but they didn't survive. They didn't survive. Everyone in the car died. So basically, someone's watching their loved ones die on video, right? I mean, if it had had a happy ending, maybe it's a little more forgivable, like if they got them out. But they all died, and they're showing it on someone's cell phone. It's just not right. So I'm glad. It's sad that they had to post it, but I'm glad they did.
Yeah, that's again on the Mason County Sheriff's Office. We do appreciate the Sheriff's Department and all the folks there that do that good work. All right, so this story here we saw, because we're getting close to fall. It's getting chilly in the air. It's brisk out there some mornings, and only going to continue to cool off. And so the question then abounds: if you can't get out during the winter months and you need to get some sort of a trek out into nature, how are you going to do it? Well, apparently, if you have to, a virtual experience can be nearly effective as an actual nature experience. This study published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology set to see if experiencing virtual nature, that's like on TV or VR, could afford some of the same benefits. So they did this a couple different ways. First, they watched just kind of regular dull videos. They put the brain scanners on you, and then they kind of check to see what your brain activity is. So they do a regular just show or something boring. And then they do one with nature. And it seems like there was some sort of a positive effect from this, don't you say?
Yeah, they found that all three viewing modes resulted in what researchers described as reductions in boredom and negative effect, but the more interactive VR modes resulted in significantly greater improvements in positive effect than TV, which were mediated by greater experience presence and increases in nature connectedness. So there's all sorts of cool apps. I haven't used mine in forever, but you remember my Oculus Go VR headset. Yeah. I've downloaded a few of those where there's one where you're like on a canoe and you're just kind of drifting along a river. And I lay down in the bed looking up at the ceiling, and it looks like you're looking up at the sky, and there's deer walking around. And, it's fake, but your brain sometimes can't differentiate. And I think that's what's happening with this study is it's better than no nature, right?
Yeah, better than no nature. And, we're still a little ways away from this. And, we in the Northwest are accustomed to, being outside when it's rainy and things like that. So, we're, for the most part, we're hardy folk. We'll hunker down and get out there if we need to. But if we're in the dead of winter, this could be an option. And I wonder if we're in the dead of winter and we trick our brains into watching something nature where it's, warm and sunny, I wonder what that does.
We forget to put on our raincoat and take out our umbrella, maybe. I don't know. We go out in our shorts, get soaking wet.
Yeah, that's it. You run outside, you got your shorts and your flip-flops on. All right, good morning to you. The Daybreak Show rolls on. Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.